Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam Wolf, and we've got a trailer reaction for you today. The Hell Is Us gameplay trailer. This game caught my eye just because it's another Souls game, I think. It looks like it, but it's very sci-fi heavy, it looks like, as well. It's not like, you know, old looking, it's not medieval style, it's futuristic, near future style type of game, and it really kind of stood out to me when I first saw it. And it would seem as though PlayStation has a extended gameplay trailer for us here, and you know, because I'm actually interested in this, I wanted to see what they had in store for us, because they only showed a little bit at the I think it was a PlayStation showcase not too long ago, and then they came out with this, and I was like, let's check it out. So this is Hell Is Us.
Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Jacques Billitet. I'm the creative director and the art director on Hell Is Us. I hope you enjoyed the trailer that you've seen recently.
That's probably French.
Today we're back in the spotlight. We're going to show you a bit of gameplay, a bit more than what you've seen in the trailer, and I hope that you will enjoy this part greatly. All right, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
So Hell Is Us.
So keep in mind, this is alpha, so it's not ready yet. This was only 2 months ago, so they're probably still in alpha, maybe nearing beta, but we'll see.
Is set to be released in 2025. It's for pretty much everything, so Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, and PC. So the game is a bit of a take back to games.
Notice how he didn't say Series S, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's probably for Series S as well, so don't worry.
From the 1990s, we're a team of passionate people. The average on the team is like 20 years of development experience.
Wow.
So we're from a different generations, and we have a lot of love for how the games in the 90s were made and how they were played and experienced, especially the fact that you know, there was no hand holding, there was no silver plattering. You kind of had to figure stuff out by yourself. You were really in control of your exploration and your own discoveries, and this is what we're trying to do in Hell Is Us.
I like that.
Obviously with modern flair and kind of like modern knowledge of game design and whatnot, but very much put you back in the driver's seat of your experience and of your exploration.
Water effects are good.
The result,
interaction with the water, interaction with the grass is good.
So Hell Is Us takes place in a country called Hadia. Hadia is in the grips of a vicious civil war. You play the role of Remy. Remy is actually from Hadia. He was born there, but his mom smuggled him out at the age of 5, like it sometimes happens in those countries. And what I mean by that is Hadia is a hermit state, is a turtle state. It's completely closed off on itself. Nobody goes out, nobody comes in, and that's why Remy's mom decided to smuggle him out so he can have
Is that a real
life.
That's not a real place, right? Did he say fictional?
Or the foster. So Hell Is Us takes place in a country called Hadia. Hadia is in the grips of a vicious...
Hadia.
And what I mean by that is Hadia is a hermit state, is a turtle state. It's completely closed off on itself. Nobody goes out, nobody comes in.
Let me see this.
And that's why Remy's mom decided to smuggle him out so he can have a better life. He grew up in the foster home system, or the foster system in Canada. He's always wanted to come back to Hadia. He wants to find his parents again. He wants to kind of like confront them. He's got a lot of questions for them. He understands why they abandoned him, but yet, you know, abandonment is pretty much the biggest trauma that a child can have. And
okay, so Hadia, also known as Adia or Hadia, Hadia, the other spelling is Hadiya, was a medieval Muslim state in the southern part of its realm, located south of Shiwa and west of Sharqa. But then the AI overview, which I don't really trust, says Hadia are an ethnic group native to Ethiopia. The Hadia Muslim state, mainly composed of Cushitic Hadia proper, Halaba, Kabena people, as well as Semitic. I don't even know how to say this. Okay. Interesting. I've never heard of this place, but it is a real place, according to Wikipedia. So it says historical region. Not sure if it was in Ethiopia or what, but interesting.
There's like a loop that hasn't been closed properly for him towards this situation. And his parents, when the game starts, Remy has finally been able to infiltrate Hadia during the brutal civil war that I was talking about. Remy is a ON peacekeeper. He quit his post, he went AWOL, infiltrated the country, and this is where the game starts. Remy remembers two things, and that means the players remember two things. It's that his village of birth was called Jova.
Manual
his father
save.
was the blacksmith of Jova. Those are the only clues you begin the game with, and these are the only clues that Remy also know. So equipped with this knowledge, with these clues, you begin the game and you try to find your way to Jova.
You must be lost to wander around Sinedra Forest. I'm afraid I have very little to offer. A group of strange-looking soldiers arrived here last night in an APC.
It was definitely taking place in modern times, if nothing else.
It's not the first time I've seen them. They always seem to be snooping around here for something. They parked their APC just beyond the woods, to the north.
I mean, if it wasn't apparent from his clothing.
Once in the woods, follow the wind chimes. They will lead the way through.
But I'm wondering, it's obviously an alternate future,
here,
because in the reveal trailer we saw, like, I think there's like a little robot drone with him, so.
Okay, so let's talk about this design philosophy that I've mentioned earlier, which is, I said the word silver plattering, is something that I had been thinking about for quite a few years, and the team as well.
What if they're building this on Unreal?
Modern day or contemporary adventure games and RPGs, pretty much everything is given to you on a silver platter. What I mean by that is when you explore, everything
Unreal Engine
appears
5
in front of you. You know, you have your compass on top of you. That's like a sixth sense, like a magical sense that
Right,
detects,
yeah.
You know, all the caves.
I
and
like
all
what
the
he's
cool stuff
saying,
around
dude.
you and
I
the
know
tower.
it's like, he's trying to sell us on the game, but these are good things here. No hand-holding. A lot of people love Dark Souls. They love Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all these games. And while Elden Ring was tailored more towards an audience that likes open worlds, and they did it really well, it was still very difficult, and you still had to kind of go where you wanted to, like where you could. You still had to figure out where to go. And what he's talking about, of course, is a lot of games these days, they will hold your hand. The tutorial will be lengthy, and sometimes that's okay, but then sometimes it gets overbearing, and other times developers do it very cleverly, which I also enjoy. But we don't have, like he said, back in the 90s, guys, we had manuals, sure. But they told you basic controls, they told you character profiles and stuff like that, but they didn't tell you what to do except here's the button for jump, here's it, and you had to figure the rest out. And yeah, we kind of lost sense of being in the world, being immersed in the world, being in control, you know what I mean? So this all sounds really good to me.
And this and whatnot, it just appears magically, and you have your map, and you have your mini map, and you have your quest markers, and you have your objective markers, and you can drop your own markers, and you have your quest journals, and it just never ends. And if you
He's
think
basically
about
referring
it,
to Ubisoft.
what happens with that is that you're not truly exploring. You're just kind of like flying by wire, and when you find something, it's not really your discovery. It was kind of handed to you on a silver platter. So what you're looking at now is we're having a discussion with a bloke named Ernest Cadell. He's telling us certain
it's already
information,
behind.
and then he tells us it's quite far. You need to hitch a ride. You might find people that are willing to give you a ride. It's up to the north of my house, so you're gonna have to use your compass, but your real compass, right, with the coordinates on it: north, south, east, west, blah blah blah. And follow.
So that right there reminds me a lot of Far Cry 2, where your map was a physical map that you brought up, and I don't believe you could actually place any waypoints or anything like that. Your compass was something that you had to, I don't know if there was an actual compass that you brought up or if it was tied to, I think it might have been tied to the map, but you physically had a map. It didn't just appear on screen. And that was so cool because it really got you into the game.
Well, that, and he tells you that in the Lost Woods, in order to find your way out,
keep forgetting
just
I
follow
have a
the wind
remote.
chimes. He says, I've attached them there for my kids when they were young because they kept on getting lost in those bloody woods. And then he tells you, follow the sound of the wind chimes and you'll find your way on the other side of the woods. That's how we do it. It's very organic. It's very realistic. Someone in real life could have told you the exact same thing.
Right.
So the environments,
So yeah, that's again what he's going for here is just pure realism. It's just it's immersion at this point. Hey, go talk to this guy. They might give you some information. If you listen carefully, you'll get the right information and you'll know what to do.
Visuals
Plain
of the
simple.
game are not just there to illustrate, they're there
Environmental
to communicate. So you
storytelling,
need to
if
play
you
the
will.
game, you need
Not
to open your
particularly
eyes,
that,
you
but
need to
like
open your
the
ears to
environment
what
can tell
NPCs
you a lot if you just
And
look.
you'll find your way and you'll discover things and you will truly own your discoveries and the great joy that comes with that.
I love that. I love that he's focusing on that because I think that matters, especially nowadays. More than ever. There's a lot of people getting sick of all the hand-holding. People want a challenge, and that's really good. Well, there's the APC.
So here's another scene or
Here we go.
that could be considered part of our player plattering philosophy. So here's a puzzle, and there's obviously a solution to the puzzle.
I like
but
the
nothing eventually is
cloth
gonna tell
physics.
you,
Those
know,
look
the
really
player
good,
ends up
actually.
kind of like taking a bit of time
Little
to find a
poncho.
solution. There's not going to be any
Him wearing that poncho reminds me of Death Stranding or even, of course, Star Wars. Let me see if this is at the highest resolution. Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm not on a 4K TV, but it's still, it's clarity's sake.
artificial kind of ways that are
Just
gonna
reminds me
help
of
him or tell
Death
him what to
Stranding
do,
or
where
Star
he's not gonna
Wars,
start
little
talking to
poncho.
himself, or i.e. talking
It looks
to the
good.
player with little clues and whatever. It's really up to you to figure them out. And in the way that the player plattering is inserted in this, we have a good example here with your trusty drone named Cappy. By the way, you can tell now that Remy has his poncho and he has his sword and he has his drone. So it's after he's acquired them, right? Because at the beginning of the game, you saw he was not dressed like that. Now there's a reason why he ends up dressed like this. There's a reason why he needs these things, this equipment, but we don't need to get into these details today. So anyway, there's an ancient language in the country and you kind of find it throughout the game. And the drone has a software, one of his many softwares, and this specific one can translate the ancient language. So this puzzle, the way that it works, you need to kind of like explore and observe your environment.
I couldn't
around this
remember.
specific puzzle
I was
in
trying
order
to say
find the clues on
something.
how to
I can't remember
solve
who it was
You need the
to,
drone,
but I was
your
telling him
trusty
about
Cappy.
this
His name
the
is Cappy.
trailer.
There's something behind that, of course.
And I was saying it reminded me of the game The Surge, but I couldn't remember the name of the game for some reason. I'm like, it was something simple, I know, but I can't remember it. It was The Surge. This game reminds me a little bit about that, especially with the sword that he talks about. It really kind of looks similar.
So again, the players are kind of like
They probably got
their
some
own
inspiration
devices,
from it,
but
'cause The
things are
Surge
there,
I have yet to
answers
play,
are
but
there.
it
You have
looks
to explore, and
pretty
again,
good.
you have to open your eyes.
You know,
and
it's
open your ears, and you'll figure it
sci-fi,
out.
and that's a big deal for me. So like he said, and like I just mentioned, it's all about environmental storytelling, it seems, with this game. Not just of, obviously, NPCs giving you clues, but looking around the environment, seeing what you see, and
So by now,
figuring out the
you've seen a
puzzles
lot
that
of
way.
What I guess is like exploration and looking around and talking to people and doing puzzles and all that kind of sweet stuff. But if you've seen the trailer, you of course notice that there's another big aspect to the game, which is third-person melee combat. So we like to say that the game is 50% exploration and 50% combat. The game is not at all only about combat, and it's definitely not at all just walking around and figuring stuff out. It's the combination of both, and we also think that the way that we've combined them is quite refreshing and quite unique in Hell Is Us. So, like I said, combat is an integral part of the game. I do want to emphasize now that
the
we're
monsters
not
look
a,
crazy,
Souls-like
though.
game. The game is a lot more mid-core. It's have fun, get in it, and hack and slash.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's easy. It's not overly hard. There's a learning
So-
curve, there's subtlety.
So Stellar Blade, essentially, that's what he said. Like Stellar Blade is, it has Souls elements, or Nier Automata, another one. Though it's Nier Automata is more like a bullet hell, really mixed in with a melee combat game. But he's saying it's not a Souls like, it's what he called midcore. I've never even heard that term before, but a midcore. So I would say probably equatable to Stellar Blade, where the combat is fast, fluid, and fun, but it's still difficult.
There's little things that we've invented just for the.
And if you guys
flair
came to the
and
stream when I was
flavor
playing it,
of Hell Is Us. If
you'd
you're
see it.
crunchy, I think the
It can be
friction is
very
pretty
difficult
good,
sometimes.
and, I hope you'll enjoy it. So there's a wide.
Oh,
variety
yeah.
of
There we go.
Enemies in the game.
Okay.
So we have kind of like the
If they have a
more
Warhammer,
common
that'd be
enemy type,
great.
which is called the Hollow Walker. So it's these kind of humanoid, bipedal, white enemies that you can see here with the holes in their faces and their chests and whatnot. So obviously,
Okay,
there's
so
a reason-
so far with the movement and with everything, I'm not seeing any major artifacting dithering around the character. No, I'm not seeing ghosting, which is crazy because Unreal Engine is known for that. especially if they're using the temporal anti-aliasing solution that they have in that engine. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing motion blur, which actually looks really good on the fast moving objects and stuff. It gives real weight to the motion, but I'm not seeing any kind of like visual artifacting, which is very good. And the motion blur is obviously probably really good just because motion blur is there to hide a lot of, imperfections, but I'm not seeing a lot of imperfections to begin with.
We call like a dual entity. So
and if they're not using, I'm not listening to anything he's saying, and it's awful because he's telling us all about the game. If they're not using TAA, thank God. And if they are, they're doing a damn good job of using it, because we'd be seeing a lot of ghosting and bad. This is alpha and it looks this good. It's clean. You know what I mean? And boy, if they've got it down, they got to teach other studios how to do it, because some studios just don't know how to do it.
Inside of it. So it's when the haze is present. I'm not going to get into the details right away of what the haze represents. It's all part of the lore and what you will figure out in the game. But when you're facing a combo like these dual entities, and it can go to like 3 of them, 4 of them, there's the herders, there's the fervents, and different types like that. But that's when you really need to master the combat system.
I'm genuinely looking really hard to see any kind of visual artifacting. I'm not seeing much.
Tons of skills to upgrade it, and the drone is very much your little sidekick to help you in fighting multiple enemies at a time. He's not a sidekick in the sense where he talks and he has an AI. He's very much a drone that has
God.
a protocol to do this crap.
We don't need another drone that mouths off constantly.
Management during the combat.
Or another companion, I should say.
You have your limbic skills, attack to weapons.
Listen!
You consider your magic.
Anybody remember that?
Considered magic is kind of like a scientific base to them. But that's when you really need to master all the
Or the stupid cuff from Forspoken.
Use all the tools in your arsenal and at your disposition, and get in the melee with these kind of dual.
Or to be fair, he was better at acting than she was in that game, to say the least. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Come on. That's not what I wanted to do. My bad. Wrong button, wrong button, wrong button. I thought I was going to go back anyway. I thought maybe I saw some.
Victorious.
There it is right there. I just barely.
And get in the melee with these kind of dual.
It might have just been
entities,
motion blur.
Being able to manage them and be victorious.
That's quick. I don't know.
So like I mentioned, here specifically, you can see a combat against a limbic entity that has multiple hazes attached to the hollow walker. That's when it gets really complex. It gets very overwhelming because you're alone, but you got your trusty little Cappy.
Got a lot of freaking health, though.
So for example, Cappy has a skill where you can distract an entity.
I like that you can, there's all these different weapons.
Charge, which is one of my favorite. You also have the Typhoon. You have the Super Dash skill, which is another one of my favorites, so you can start dashing sideways, forward, backwards, really, really fast. It gives you like this Japanese action game style. And then you also have your Olympic skill, so you need to find the glyphs.
I actually really like
attach them to your weapons, and this is when you start getting
the visual makeup of this game. It also reminds me of
take care of these enemies in much more powerful and kind
Remnant
of
from the Ashes
ways. That's when the VFX and the sound effects all come together and give you this combat bang that we all like.
Remnant from the Ashes.
Okay, so now let's take a little pause from the combat and let's go back to the investigation and the exploration. So, like I said, there's no silver plattering. There's none of these kind of like fly-by-wire. It's up to you to figure out what your kicker is. What I mean by kicker is what you're supposed to achieve at this specific moment, what you're actually looking for, where to look for it, and how to look for it, right? Remy and the players are at a ratio of information which is 1-1.
It's in Akasa Marshes. It's quite a ways from here.
So one of the tools that we're providing you to still kind of help you a bit and manage this 1-1 kind of like knowledge ratio is your data pad. Think of it as a bit your investigation wall, if you want, but in a digital 90s format. So your clues, your leads, the important people that are related to your investigation, trying to find your parents, and a lot more eventually, are all stored here. They're linked together by the relationships, and now it's up to you to go and investigate about them.
It looks good already. This is alpha, and it looks good. I'm really hoping they don't focus too much on. Here's the thing: the big thing these days is ray tracing, and I had a big conversation. I was just talking on last night's stream about how ray tracing at first was really cool. It was a cool idea, but it's very rare that a developer gets it right and uses the ray tracing, whatever they want to use, to greatest effect, while also maintaining, stability in frame rate and frame times. Nobody's been able to really do it, and it's kind of getting annoying now. I want companies to stop taking shortcuts and start being artists again. I want developers to actually utilize their environmental artists, their lighting artists, all these people that have such great talent and a good eye for lighting and color and just art in general, to do their job. Pay these people to do their job and make a good looking game. Forget the ray tracing. Forget that stuff. I'm sick of seeing it. I'm sick of hearing about it. Enough with the ray tracing. Leave it to CG films and stuff like that. That's what it was really meant for to begin with. But this on the fly ray tracing, it's getting long in the tooth, and I'm kind of over it. I would like us to get back to normal rasterization and improving upon the techniques that actually proved to be very successful in the past. You can make a really good looking game without ray tracing. See Uncharted 4. Let's just throw it out there. Uncharted 4 is one of the best looking games of last generation and this generation, because you could play it now and still think it was a game from this generation of consoles. Okay, so let's not split hairs here. That's the truth of the matter. They had great artists on the job, and they did a phenomenal job with what they had. And that ran on the PS4, not the Pro, the PS4.
Wide opened. This one here, called the Casa Marshes, is one of the bigger ones. And as I spoke quite a bit already, the game doesn't hold your hand or doesn't really tell you where to go. So
just don't run into the big dome thing with spikes out of it.
Or ideas that you have in your head of what you're supposed to do or where you're supposed to go at any given moment.
This is alpha, and it looks this good already.
A lot of points of interest or just little things in the environment that pique your curiosity.
I'm really looking hard for any visual artifacts.
Also making a ton of peripheral.
There was possibly one right there.
A lot of points
when he pulled out the weapon, the scythe.
Little things in the environment that pique your curiosity, and as you walk towards them or explore, that's when you'll start also making a ton of peripheral.
If it was masked really well.
Things that you cannot solve right away, or things that you might think that there is a thing to be done with it when there's none, and it's all part of the fun stuff and the kind of experience that we're providing in the game. So as you can see here, there's a tree with people that have been hung. Like I said, this takes place during a very vicious civil war between two different ethnicities in the countries that are still basically the exact same people. And you found this tree. It's actually not part of the Golden Path or not part of...
See, I like that. I like the fact that there's people hanging from a tree. Not because of that, but because they're not afraid to actually show the brutality of war. They're not pulling any punches here. This is what happens during war sometimes. And he didn't state any particular date or year. It's just in this country that's having a civil war. And I like the fact that these companies, these indie developers, are just we need to make a statement here. And it's not like they're trying to throw it in our faces like Concord tried to do or Dragon Age Veilguard did. They're not throwing some ideological garbage in our face. What they're doing is they're showing with the game and with the environment the brutality of war, the brutality of humans, and not saying, oh, we're sorry about this, but I'll be damned if they actually have a message at the beginning that says, don't take this so seriously. It's just a game, but do remember that this is a civil war. Like he just repeated. It's we know, we get it. The people are fighting, people are dying. This is the reality of it all. Make of it what you will, but it's in the game. And I like when games and developers take a more mature approach to their art.
Something tremendously important in the game, but there's still something around it. There's still something to be found, and it's probably linked to more stuff that you can do in relation to it. But that you had to do your own exploration to find it, and even more of your own exploration and investigation to figure out what it's linked to and what you can do from it if you want.
I love the look of it. It looks so good. Now, again, it's none of this is explained. There's alien technology and stuff like that, but you're still human. So it's not like you're a different race or species. You're humans in this country that actually existed or still exists. I don't know. It's more like a region, I guess. But there's alien tech that has, been splattered all over the land, and this really is like Death Stranding. It really looks like Death Stranding, minus, the monsters. The monsters in Death Stranding, of course, were invisible. But yeah, it's got similar feelings, similar vibes to Death Stranding, minus all the alien tech.
So here we are in a dungeon in the game. So yes, the game has dungeons. This was really important to us. Like I said at the beginning,
Oh,
there's a bit of
little
a
texture
love
pop
letter
in
to
there.
Games from the 90s. But one of the challenges was the game takes place in a
Game fails,
contemporary
texture
setting.
popping.
The game takes place in 1993, and yet
Oh,
we
there you
still
go.
wanted
Yeah. So 1993, and they have drones.
dungeons.
Alien
in the
tech.
game, and I didn't want the dungeons to take place in an abandoned metro station or in an abandoned factory because it's the modern era. I still wanted the dungeons to be very ancient things, and this brings us to another really important aspect of the game, or one of the very important themes of the game, which is history, historicity, deep history. So history that goes even
Historicity?
before history. So there's a lot of mysteries and a lot of lore, and the origin of what's going on in the country and the link to the Civil War is all tied to that deep history and also what has happened since. I won't get into too much details because that will be part of another video for you guys, but you can see
Ooh,
a
another
bit of it
video.
here, and it shows you the varied palettes and moods and atmospheres that we have in the game, which also I think is something quite interesting and unique that we're doing in Hell Is Us.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that other video. We'll probably have to do another one on that, because that'll be interesting.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm extremely grateful to have you guys following us, the team as well. So just to repeat, the game Hell Is Us will be released in 2025 as box series, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Okay,
There's
so
a
you
lot
said series
more
that
coming
time.
soon about the game. This is just the beginning. We'll explain other aspects of it and get into sometimes a bit of the minutia. So stay tuned and speak to you soon. Thank you.
That looks really, really good. I'm actually very excited for that one. Very interesting take on the whole thing. Like the fact that he finally said what year it took place in, but it's in a country that I've never even heard of, country or region I've never even heard of before. So they're taking, as he said, they're using history, and I think he even said something about prehistory, which is also something that isn't explored that much these days. And trying to make something unique out of it. And I love the idea. The look of the game, it looks fantastic. I mean, Unreal Engine 5, I love Unreal Engine 5. I love the way it looks. I love the way that developers have been able to work with it and really make their games visually beautiful. And this one, of course, it's a Civil War. It's gray, it's drab, it's Xbox 360 era brown and gray, but with a little more color. But they're showing in very great detail what this war has done to this country. And then, of course, I don't think he said anything about the alien tech. That's probably a given with the lore that he was speaking of. So he's like, don't want to spoil anything, but you'll find out what's going on. He didn't want dungeons to take place in a metro because it is 1993, and none of this technology existed. Drones, well, maybe drones did, but military-wise, it did. Tablets certainly didn't exist. Tiny little, we barely had computers to begin with at home, but so all this technology is clearly been advanced by something to do with all this alien, the alien structures and the unknown faceless ones, or whatever the heck they are, hollows, I think they're calling them, or something like that. So, very excited, very happy about the fact that they're taking a mature tone with it and being very mature about it, instead of just being like, we're sorry about, we have to, no. Tell it like it is, man. It's a war. People die. Okay? It sucks, but it's also a video game. So, don't take it so seriously. But they're telling a story with the environment, and I'm really happy about that. And they're willing to go to the lengths to tell that story, to great lengths to tell that story, like showing people hanging from a tree. I mean, human beings are brutal, man. Human beings are evil by nature, for the most part. We all have evil tendencies within us, and that's just the way we were built. We just don't act on them because we have restraint. We have common sense. We have a brain in our head, most of us anyway. So it's really awesome to see developers finally just take the stand and be like, I want to make the game I want to make. We're not going to hold your hand. It's not a Souls-like, but it's not easy either. And you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. I love that. I love it. So, Hell Is Us, coming out in 2025. Not entirely sure when, but hopefully they take their time. If they need a delay, please do. Right now, this is alpha footage. This was only a couple months ago. And being that I've been a part of development for a game, I know that it doesn't just go from alpha to beta immediately in only a couple months. It could, but it depends on how long they're working. I'm pretty sure that he said their studio is pretty small, so it's like 20 some odd people or more, maybe just a little bit more than that. But 20 people who have had many years of experience in game development. So please take your time, make the game right, and I can't wait to see Hell Is Us next year in 2025. But let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Are you excited for this one? Because I kind of am now. It looks really good. Let me know. And please join me again in the next one where we take a look at another game, another demo, another trailer or demo, whatever. And I'll give you thoughts on it. Still don't have an outro. I don't know. You guys help me come up with an outro. I guess it could be something stupid. Why not? I am stupid. But until then, I'm Adam Wolf. This is Hell Is Us. And I'll see you guys later.